Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and S.W.O.R.D. issue number 1. I started reading this one first because I was very curious, and also the idea that, hey, the S.W.O.R.D, the Abigail brand, all this stuff, and how this book starts. This seems like, okay, Ewing. This is the end of the Empire event, which I wasn't really fond of. The Empire, he and Slott did the Empire event, but Ewing did the Avengers part. And the way that ended, it looked interesting. I'm like, how's that gonna work? Then I see all the talk around it. I'm like, okay, interesting. And then this comes up, but then I realize it's an X book, and I'm like, man, I was already really feeling in the dumps about the Empire event, if you could even call it that. But then this is falling right after the events of the Ten of Swords stuff, and I didn't read all of those. And I'm like, so the first book I was going to read wound up becoming the last book that I read this week. This is how the world works. But there is so much in this book that I promise you it is impossible for any one person to ever digest fully yet. But you know, one of the things that I said about this book, about these Dawn of X books, all of them, the Hoxpox and everything, I said I'd really like to see Al Ewing have a go at this. Because the way that his mind works and the whole cosmic foray into, you know, the powers of X books specifically, I thought, man, that's a guy I would love to see what he would actually do with this. And now we get to see that. Already spoiled that he's the writer, Al Ewing. Now let's get into the rest of the book. Valerio Scheide does the art, and Marty Gracia does the color art. VC's Ariana Maher does the letters, and the design is Tom Mueller. Scheide and Gracia do the cover art, and there's a whole bunch of variant covers out there. Jonathan Hickman is technically still the head of X, and this issue is called Mysterium. That is the biggest mystery, it means mystery, of all of the mysteries in here, and there's a lot of freaking mysteries in here. Anyway, we start off with the hub, with the peak. This is a giant spaceship, space station that's much, much larger than the ISS, the International Space Station, because this thing can actually hold 600 plus people. Magneto shows up, and he's making fun of Kid Cable, Baby Cable. And he's saying, you know, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to move the space station while I'm doing an inspection of this place. Like, wow, a council member, you're up here. Wow, that's cool and everything. And we're right away establishing ranks. Kid Cable is in charge of security. Abigail Brand is in charge of everything here. Apparently this stuff happened in the Ten of Swords event. I'll get to it eventually. But for now, basically, she's going to be doing what she's doing, what she's always done, being in charge of S.W.O.R.D. But now S.W.O.R.D seems to have been more privatized than anything else. They don't have that, as they mentioned, the black budget that S.H.I.E.L.D. has always had. So she's got to deal with individual nations or people, whatever. And in this case, she's got to deal with the Silent Council, the 12. She's got to deal with Krakoa. And while she keeps on trying to distance herself from it, man, there ain't but so much space you can put between yourself and your sponsors. And if they decide to, like, the whole thing is greenlit. Go. But if they decide to cut funding, you'll be out of food and oxygen in a week. So be good to daddy, right? And Magneto's got a smile on his face, the cockiest smile you've seen on this cat in a long time, for exactly this reason. He knows Abigail Brand has big brass balls, and they happen to be resting in Magneto's hand, just like the little balls of iron or some, you know, ferrous nature, swirling around his head at all times, right? We call that ammunition where we come from. So she's in charge of everything, but the council is really who's pulling the strings. It's like, here's the CEO, but then here's the board members, the shareholders. You know, you may think that you're in charge, but you're really just the puppet head. We make the rules. But Brand isn't somebody to mess with, and we already know that a year from now we're going to find that out. In the meantime, you got a whole bunch of other people involved in this, and I highly recommend looking at the chart in here. Guys, this is a book. If you usually get digital copies, may I make the recommendation that you ignore that rule for just this issue for a little bit. There's too much in here to be making printouts of. You're going to actually want to hold this up. I'm thinking the gods of comic books. That'd be Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and yeah, because we got WizKid back in play. Haven't really seen him since the Occupy Avengers day. I think that we saw him at one point in between, but it was such a inconsequential appearance that, like, pfft, who cares? But we see a lot of future potential threats happening here, and it's freaky seeing all this. It reminds me of Set. That's what this reminds me of. I thought to myself, that's silly. But by the time you get to the end of the book, you realize nothing's off the table. Elder gods are not off the table. You have to remember that this is Al Ewing that we're dealing with, who we're dealing with. Frenzy. Always love Frenzy. I think it's issue number 4 is her first appearance in the original X Factor volumes. What do you call it? I have her first appearance. And I actually just got it again recently. So that's why it's fresh in my memory. Something else is fresh in my memory. It's funny. There are two things that I'm going to bring it up in a moment. Anyway, Frenzy is one that I got in the eBay boxes that I get. Yeah. So I got an eBay box of my, comic books, and that's why it's fresh in my head that she was issue 4. There's an interesting part in here with Pybok. That's the Power Scroll. So there's the Super Scroll, then there's the Power Scroll. And a bunch of different ones. I believe Pybok was actually the second one made, since the Skrulls tried to make the Super Scroll to handle the Fantastic Four, and he couldn't. Pybok was the second one that they made when they realized that Super Scroll was a failure. Can you imagine if they actually made 4 Super Scrolls and just said go? Imagine that. Anyhow, so there's a lot here, and one of the parts here is that Brand and the others, including Frenzy, who is now an ambassador to Earth, she's basically talking to talking to Pybok and saying, "Hey, is there a chance that the Emperor could come here? You know, the Emperor of the unity of the Kree Skrull." And it's interesting that they point out that they together are equally just as powerful as the Shi'ar at this point. Yeah, I guess I could see that. That was always a threat. It's one of the reasons why the Shi'ar would usually try and poke those two bears to, mess with each other just to maintain their own power. I don't know. It's an interesting way to look at it, because the Shi'ar are actually a confederation. You know what I'm saying? But all that being what it is, I like the idea they point that out, and I would expect Ewing to make that point. But since he is Emperor Doric is so powerful right now, that's for crying out loud. I never liked the Young Avengers. That kid Skrull, Hulkling. There we go, Emperor Hulkling. Since Hulkling is the Emperor, a good point was made in here that his mother-in-law is technically the Scarlet Witch. These guys are mutants. She took their powers. M-Day and all that, that's canon. That's in the current time stream. So, yeah. Magneto thinks to himself for a second, oh no, this is bad. We're trying to get recognized by the Skrull and Kree alliance. We're trying to get recognized because we've already got the Shi'ar on our side. But if we can get these guys on our side also, that will make us huge, But then to turn around and find out that, no, you guys are kind of dissing the mother-in-law of the Emperor, it's going to be kind of hard to get the Emperor to come down here. He doesn't really like you guys too much. Wow. I love the idea that it may seem stupid, it may seem silly, but when you think about how kingships and kinships work, it makes perfect sense. Look at the mess that the so-called royal family is in, right? These Germans who are in charge of Great Britain. I said it. I say it here in Canada, of all places, another technical commonwealth. It's interesting to see that they're actually going to do all of that. Now, here's something that I don't know how many people are going to be paying attention to, because this is something that screamed at me, and I immediately went and put these notes in the Marvel database. Fabian Cortez is here, and he shows up, and he's all, "Oh, Lord Magneto, you're so great." And it's like, yeah, no thanks. He basically just like, talk to the hand. And quite a big diss right there. Like back in the day, I'd be like, yo, that's a diss and a dollar. He just straight up tripped this dude. Like, what's up with that? Like, this was harsh. Even Brand was like, wow, that was a bit much. But it gets worse because he's a member of the Six. We're going to get into the Six in a minute. Instead, Magneto goes up and he starts talking to another member of the Six, Peepers. He goes up and he starts talking to Peepers, an absolute freak of a freak, right? Like, this is Morlock Supreme. Like, that's the level that this guy's at. It's like, dude, you don't belong on the surface. You a freak. You belong down there, right? And even though most of these guys on this ship are former acolytes, like, Peepers is who he's hanging out with the most. And he's like, we got to have dinner. We got to hang out. Hey, man, here's my personal number. Like, call me, bro. I'm serious. But you know what? Give me your number. I'll call you. And Fabian's just like, I can't believe that this is happening. Wow. What's so interesting about this is I was just reading the other two X books, Hellions, which came out last week, and then Marauders this week. Just for the sake of conversation, I have X Factor. I looked at it. I didn't like it. I couldn't get past the first couple pages. Oh, well, I bought a book that I'm just not really going to read. Whatever, it is what it is. There's some good things in there, but it's not up my alley. So, yeah, no, I'm not going to review that one. I'm not going to be reviewing X Factor at all. We're back to a point where I don't really have to. So, anyway, does anybody remember the Avengers Bloodlines event? I forget what issues those were. But Avengers Bloodlines, I think there were 5 issues, and in the final issue, he died. Fabian Cortez died. But then in the Magneto Bloodline, was it Bloodlines? I just put the damn thing in. I did all the research, and you figured I'd remember this stuff. Dark Seduction. Magneto's Dark Seduction. Fabian Cortez is there. We don't know how he came back alive. Except we kind of do. Because behind him was an image, the visage of one Mr. Sinister. Now, what did I just say? This is why I feel like I need to go back to these live reviews that you guys liked so much. Because as we're reading Hellions, and I'm talking about how is it that Mr. Sinister is going to betray, because we know from the Dawn of X books, the Hoxpox book specifically, that Sinister is going to betray everybody. How is he going to do it? One of the ways that he can do this is because in the International Space Station, which is going to be getting all of these interesting things, we're not there yet, Fabian Cortez owes a favor to Mr. Sinister. He tried to be cool to Magneto, and he got the snub. Bruh. Bruh. This is getting super interesting. And while many other writers, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, there's something cool that could happen there, they're not going to follow this because I just don't have that much faith in these writers. I have all the faith in the world in Al Ewing. So, yeah, I believe it could happen. So now more crazy things are happening. Dude, the panel layouts in here are out of control. The art in here, just beyond anything you could possibly imagine. This is a power team. Make absolutely no mistake. This is a power team. In this book, power team. This needs to go on everybody's pull list. This is out of control. Here's where Ewing starts going nuts, and in a very good way. Redactions. You gotta love the redactions. God damn it, we're gonna get to that in a minute. But right now, let's look at this here. We got the 5 down on Earth, right? And this is basically what's called today mutant technology. Because it was a little bit thrown off when WizKid said that he can manipulate mutant technology, mutant powers, things like, I'm like, no. He can't, wait, what is this? But later on it's explained. Because at first I'm like, okay, that's new. If he can control the powers of mutants, that's new. But now I understand that what he's saying here is he can actually manipulate and say, okay, here's these two mutants. Why don't you guys both do such and such as? He can see. Very different than the way iBoy or Peeper sees. He can see how their powers can actually coexist with each other and make something new. Case in point, the 5 down on Earth, along with Professor X, can cause resurrection to happen, right? And the reference up here is to the Fastball special. The other reference, the first, that's like the most recent reference. The first reference, excuse me, is to the Fastball special, which is just, me Colossus, pick up little hairy Canadian guy, throw him Canadian guy, go back to Canada, slice everything in way. I'm saying, like, that's how two mutant powers work together. You know, what do you call it? You saw what was that game that I used to play back when I was a kid? And I really wish I could, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, because part 3 is out now. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to switch. It's just, I just don't feel like paying $70 for this game. I'm hoping it's going to go on sale soon. It's not going to go on sale, is it? Damn it. I have to spend $70 for this game, but it'll be totally worth it. Anyway, Marvel Ultimate Alliance is a game where you get a whole bunch of, like, 4 different characters together, and they do different power types with each other. You kind of saw it a little bit in the Avengers movie, right? The original Avengers movie. What do you call it? Iron Man turns around and shoots a Cap, and Cap uses the shield and goes, and redirects it in a certain way and starts taking out the Chitauri all over the place, right? You got to see, what do you call it? Captain America, when he became, he combined the powers himself. He basically became what we're eventually going to see with, these Omega level hybrid mutants, right? When Worthy Cap in the final Avengers movie, he throws his shield, gets knocked up, throws the hammer up, boom, bing, hits Thanos with the shield. Both of them come back, and he's like, boom, 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 and lightning, boom. And it's like, oh my God, can you imagine if Captain America was a mutant? That would just be absurd. But what we have here, I had to pick the book. I had to put the book down. I got so into that. What we have here is the idea that you have several mutants who get together, and then all of a sudden, bing, they can make something else by combining their powers. I love this. I forgot I can make that sound. It's been a long time since I made that sound. Anyway, so we've got the control, the power, the shield, the guide, the eye, the foundry. All right, so they got their goofy little symbols. Boom, 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 boom. And then we've got what the symbols are and what the words are. So the control is WizKid. The power is Fabian Cortez. The shield is armor. Important. Manifold is the guide. That's the most important one for what we're about to talk about. And then you got Peeper, and Risk being the eye and the foundry. Manifold is the guide. His power is teleportation, right? Everybody here has a backup. If WizKid can't be there or dies or whatever, you got Forge. If armor isn't there, you got Skids to make a different kind of force field, a greasy force field at that you can ride on. What do you call it? The Peeper, Doc is there if Peeper goes bad. Why not iBoy? I don't know. Is that like the tertiary? If Risk can't do what she has to do, Zorn is there. Oh, Zorn is back. Okay, so Zorn is back. We just haven't seen anything of Zorn yet. I don't know. Everybody's like, where's Nightcrawler? Where's Nightcrawler? It's like, I see Nightcrawler. I'd like a Nightcrawler story, but where's Zorn? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so we've got this, okay? We don't know who the backup is for Fabian Cortez. We have no idea. But there is somebody there. It's just redacted. But the mutant name is there, or excuse me, the human name is there, but doesn't have a mutant name. Now that's interesting, because remember, mutants, and it's kind of always been like this. You take a code name or whatever, and it's different for mutants than it is for other superheroes. This is your new name. This is like with, the Nation of Islam back in the day. This is your slave name. This is your real name. This is the name given to you by Allah. Well, in this particular case, this is like, here's your mutant name, get rid of your human name, you're not human. You know what I'm saying? So, ba-ding. Some of these guys have, like Forge, doesn't have a regular human name that we know of, but he does have his mutant name. So, it's along those lines. Anyway, this is a person who has a human name, but no mutant name. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this. Anyway, with Manifold, he doesn't have a backup either, except, yeah, he does. Because see, this is the 6 in this bottom black thing, and this one is Manifold. Manifold is part of this Venn diagram where, oh look, there are 5 others here in another 6. Who are those 6? Blink, Lila Cheney, Vanisher, Amelia Vaut, and Gateway. All 5 of them teleporters, just like Manifold. Now, if that's not freaky deaky, I don't know what else is. All 5 of them could be his backup. Or maybe it's just straight up Nightcrawler, a council member. It's one thing to tell me a good story. It's another thing to get me thinking. God damn, I love when a comic book gets me thinking. There is so much here. There is so much. This reminds me of the original Hoxpox books, where you're just reading this stuff and you're like, let's start figuring this stuff out. You know what I'm saying? This is like when I first started learning the code, the cipher. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to break that cipher. Man of my word. So now let's see what else I can break, because this right here is actually the most important page in the entire comic book. And it's a huge wraparound. There's no beginning or end. You might think, oh, start here and go. No. Read what's there and you'll realize it's not the case. So let's read what's there. The shield protects the 6. After that, it says the 6 stand at the shore. This far shore, the farthest point of all, and then farther. So they're reaching the edge of the universe. But what's at the edge of the universe? Well, it would be another universe, right? Actually, this is where it's so important. I'm putting the book down again. Oh my God. This is where we get into Al Ewing. Guys, I have said multiple times to read his Ultimates stories. The Ultimates 1 and the Ultimates 2. You have to read those because they are so out of control amazing. And you can see the mind of Al Ewing. Like this guy. And when I read those, what I said was, like, you've got Steve Ditko, who made a couple of cosmic beings who were used later on, but he didn't have any kind of continuity in mind or whatever, but you still got to kind of put him there as a little bit higher than an honorary cosmic level creator for Marvel. Jack Kirby is the one who really put this all together, and he did a whole bunch of other characters also, but when he made Galactus, that was a turning point. That was a huge shift for the entire Marvel universe that would teach DC, we need to get our crap in order, because look at what they're doing in Marvel. And they did that a lot of times, but the coming of Galactus was a big deal. I know everybody loves the Silver Surfer, but think about what Galactus actually was to the universe. There's now order to the universe. And every time somebody came on it, there would be created more order in the universe. Aside from Jack Kirby, though, and using Galactus as a focal point, comes probably the main architect of the cosmic universe in Marvel, and that's Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin took on the reins of the cosmic universe in Marvel and just took it to extremes like never before. Gave Galactus the truest purpose imaginable. It was already done in Marvel prior, but he focused, he razor thin focused in on that big time, right? Like the resurrections that happened in Hellions this week in issue number 7. It's issue 7, right? Damn it, it's issue number 7. Hells yes. Anyway, he created Master Order and Lord Chaos. He made the In-Betweener, right? He put death and actually gave her a purpose, right? Created Thanos, for crying out loud, and kept on reinventing him all the time. This is just supposed to be a weak-ass copy. And he didn't do the Thanos copter, by the way. That was not him. But he just made this weak-ass copy of Darkseid and then turned around and made Thanos into, you might say that Darkseid is more interesting. That's cool. That's an individual, part of belief. But, like, Thanos has his fingers in everything, while Darkseid is just this, he's more enigma than figured out. With Thanos, he's responsible for so much in the Marvel universe that's ridiculous. But it's not just Thanos that Starlin did. He did so much more. And we're seeing that now. And I've talked about this in the Ultimates reviews that I've done. I've mentioned that if we were going to have a true successor and keep the cosmos in good hands, Al Ewing is the guy. I thought it was cute when they said that, Donny Cates is now, Donny Cates bragging. It's like, yeah, everything cosmic has to go through me now. With all due respect to Donny Cates and what he does, I have no goddamn clue why, when you've got Al mother effing Ewing over here, who actually knows what he's doing. He thinks this stuff out in radical details. The guy is basically space-bound version of Alan Moore. The guy is out of control good at what he does. Donnie mostly falls into, good stuff and then capitalizes on that. Hey, good job, Donnie. And resulting on tropes all the time. You never know what's going to happen with Ewing. You never know. What he's doing here is insane. Farther still into the mystery. Now let's turn the page and see how crazy the universe becomes. F the universe. The multiverse becomes. The first word that's spoken after it says, into the mystery, Mysterium Tremendum. Mysterium Tremendum. The tremendous mystery. It's Latin. If you grew up a good Catholic boy, you'll know your Latin. Mysterium Tremendum. Jesus Christ. Okay. We're going to get to that in a second. Elemental Cosmic Heart. That's 2. White Hot Room of Secret Fire. If this doesn't get X-Men fans to go, I think I understand what's happening, then you need to pay closer attention. Add this video to watch later. Make it one of your favorites. Bookmark this video because it's all going to begin from here. All right. Like, get this book, pay attention because we're all doing this together. I think when I saw this page, I realized I got to go back to start doing live videos again. And I didn't do it this time. I apologize, but I need to go back to doing the Thursday night, 8 o'clock, live videos again for the X books. Because no, that's only 3. There's 4. The 4th one is Excelso Pre Omnibus Alice. Alice. It looks like a Z, but it's an S. This has multiple translations. I couldn't see it immediately and understand what it was. I looked up multiple translations. One of the translations is the one above all. God fucking damn it. Al Ewing is a monster. Oh my God, this guy's a monster. And if they don't lock this man's down into a contract and pay him twice whatever they're paying him now, these guys are morons. The guys at everybody at Marvel are the biggest morons in the face of the freaking planet. If they don't recognize what they have in Ewing, pay this man double. Like, here's double and just here. Marvel is essentially yours. This man is beyond belief. We got the White Hot Room where Phoenix is basically like, this is the home of the Phoenix. This is where resurrection actually happens in the first place. Guys, we're having problems with resurrection now because of Otherworld. And now we're talking about being able to go and actually make manifest cosmic entreaties. Oh my God, my mind is goddamn blown right now. Elemental Cosmic Heart. This actually seems like an easy one, especially for a huge Starlin buff like me. I got into a discussion with a very smart man about Thanos, who clearly doesn't understand Thanos. Smart guy, doesn't understand Thanos, regular human being. I love you, man. But like, Thanos has used multiple items. And Thanos on the God level, I'm going to compare him to Batman. Okay? While Darkseid would be the Superman of cosmic entities. Darkseid shows up, rah, 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 I'm going to kick some butt. If I ever get a hold of that anti-life equation, Lou Ferrigno on you, right? But he pretty much never does. If he does, Tom Taylor's deceased, right? And we've seen it before also, like, everybody obeys him and, Darkseid, yeah, rock on, bro. Rock on. But Thanos does get his hands on stuff, and Thanos can't be defeated except by himself. He can be defeated by himself, by his self. He beats himself. Nobody else really beats him. If he's written right. This is one of the problems that I have with Donny Cates. I don't think you're really getting what happens here. Except for the Thanos wins thing, that was an interesting way to have Thanos beat himself. But Thanos should only ever be able to defeat himself. He can never actually be defeated. It's almost like a power of his. Death couldn't defeat him. Think about that. But besides the Cosmic Cube, besides the Infinity Gauntlet, right? He's also used the Cosmic Heart before. This is something that has actually destroyed the universe. Now, I want to take that a step further because the Phoenix could technically destroy the universe. The One Above All could also destroy the universe. Now, here's where I'm going to get super funky on y'all. The top one. All right? The Tremendous Mystery. Mysterium Tremendum. I want you to... This is where this comes... Oh, crap. Okay, I'm not going to... I should have thought to pull this stuff out before. I've got my Marvel graphic novels, and if you guys have seen my I Open Comics from eBay videos, I'm mostly trying to get my hands on the collections of Marvel graphic novels again. I believe it was the 4th episode. It was last month. It was November's episode, I believe, where I opened up Squadron Supreme Death of a Universe. In Squadron Supreme Death of a Universe, there's a trapezoid in there, but not really the same one that we see at the end of this. It's gigantic and it's got 5 sides as opposed to 4. So it's more of a pyramid than this at the end where it's, this looks more like it's got 4 sides than 5. You know what I'm saying? Like a pyramid would have 5 sides, 4 on the top and then 1 on the bottom. This one looks like it's got 3 sides and 1 on the bottom. So a different kind of trapezoid. In there, Dr. Imam, and I know this because I just got my hands on the book for the first time. I never read it before, but I started reading it recently. I just read it recently, so all this stuff is fresh in my mind. Otherwise, I never even would have thought of this because the memory wouldn't have been there. But there's a moment in there where I know a lot about the Squadron Supreme, and there's a character actually called Mysterium, and he's had 3 main identities: Dr. Lighter, Black Sun or Black Star? I think it's Black Sun. Anyway, might be Black Star though. Black Sun would remind me too much of Shadows of the Empire, Star Wars. Anyway, but in Death of a Universe, this power that actually reaches through a gateway and destroys the Earth, causing the death of a universe, causing the death of the world, is stopped by, that's right, I'm not going to spoil that for you, but it does have that ability. And the character eventually became, because it's a time thing, Mysterium. Now, when the last word before, remember, because I just did this, when the first word on this page is Mysterium, And the last word on the previous page is into mystery. When I decide to look up Mystery Earth 616, Mysterium Earth 616, God damn it, I wasn't goofy in my thoughts. Looking up Mysterium Tremendum, it just gives you a translation. It doesn't do much for you. You don't put Marvel in there because that's just goofy. It's the Tremendous Mystery Marvel, the Tremendous Marvel Mystery. Like, Marvel's a weird name to put in there, all right? But you could put Earth 616, you could put frickin' F-All Comic Books, you could put whatever you want. Put in Squadron Supreme. It's only going to bring you to what I'm suggesting, but Tremendum is not in there, which is what gives me the slightest hesitation that maybe this isn't what they're talking about. But all of these things are powers, whether it's a device, not a device, excuse me, whether it's an actual object or a god beyond gods, a god above gods, like Jack Kirby. Think about that quote from the Fantastic Four. Or you're talking about like the white hot room, right? Whatever you're talking about, these guys are basically going in, they're making these cosmic concepts into an actual shape, a regular geometric shape, and holding it and pulling it back. And if there's any pause or hesitation in that, besides what's on the last page, look at what's on the actual last page, the not drawn last page. You have stolen fire from heaven to hold in your hands. How could I object? I have done the same myself, with one significant difference. I wore gloves. A quote. Oh, be careful. A quote by Dr. Goddamn Doom. I wasn't a fan of, in fact, the first thing that I didn't like by Chip Zdarsky was the Fantastic Four X-Men plus X-Men crossover, the 4-issue thing, because there was no purpose for that book for the most part. There was really no point in that. And Dr. Doom was just, he was such a joke in there. It's like, he's taking slight, barbs. He's throwing barbs at Wolverine, and most of the time Wolverine's not even there. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're so petty in this. And Dr. Doom made Sentinels. Holy crap, that should be a huge deal. But no, it's not really. Not really. We'll take care of it in the next page. The next page? Kind of the next panel, but it'll be a big panel. Thanks. What a waste. But I see Ewing with Dr. Doom, and all of a sudden, like, that pucker effect happens. Like, I'm in for a ride, aren't I? I think we're all in for a ride. Guys, this is an amazing book. It is mind-blowing. And it's one of those things where, first off, if this is the first Marvel book you're jumping on, I feel bad for you because you don't know anything that's happening here. Every single thing that happens in here, you must know something else for it. So make no mistake, this murder's dead. 2 in the chest, 1 in the head to John Byrne's rule. Not John Byrne's rule. It's actually my rule that I call the John Byrne rule, where John Byrne says every comic book that you make, is somebody's first comic book. If this is somebody's first comic book, that's their ass. They ain't gonna be comic book fans. Stick around. We love you here. We will guide you gently into this Sarlacc pit of excellence. All right? Don't worry. You'll be able to keep your armor. Another Star Wars reference there. This book is for the serious, deep fan. If you are just a casual comic book reader, you're not going to enjoy this. I promise you, you're not going to enjoy this very well. You're going to be lost all the time because I've been there before. When you start off reading like the Crisis books, a lot of times you're reading it and it's like, you know what? Maybe I just don't know DC Comics enough to really be able to get this on the first go. I got to reread it several times in order to really get that, But this one, every single thing that they're reading or every single thing that they're referencing is something that I have read before. And that just makes me so giddy. The benefit of that for anybody who hasn't read those is if you're watching this video, I am now pointing you in the direction of those. So Marvel app, I'm pretty sure you can get your hands on Squadron Supreme Death of a Universe. And this might not be a reference to that, but everything that I did in my internet research is pointing towards that, specifically to that story. And wouldn't the Squadron Supreme be perfect for this story? The one above all, the white hot room, the problems that they're having with the resurrection and the whole otherworld stuff, the heart, the elemental heart of the universe, the stuff with Fabian Cortez, the stuff with Empire, which this actually seems interesting now because they might have to make peace with the Pretender. This book has my cockle juices on overdrive. So, my peeps, get your grubby effing hands on this by hook. Well, don't do it by crook. Just get your freaking hands on this book. Buy this book. Buy this freaking book. Read it. Reread it. Reread this. Because when the next issue comes out, it's all going to keep coming back to this issue. Everything that we read going forward is going to keep on referring back to the stuff the events that happen in this issue. These guys going out and making cosmic forces manifest. We don't know what that device was. Was it one of those, was it, the manifest concept, the manifest, spirit of one of these concepts made physical? One of those four, or was it something else entirely? Was it a fifth one that we didn't see, that Ewing didn't give us? He gave us something else instead. I don't know. But man, you want to see cosmic stuff? You want to see horror stuff? You want to see cosmic horror stuff? Dude, it's all here. Every single bit of it is here. Ewing is writing an X book. Guys, Al Ewing is writing an X book. I'm going to leave you with that to think about. Like the video, watch an ad, comicbookuni.com, buy some merch for your girlfriend. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.